All Over the Road New Orleans is brought to you by CoinTrader Inc. Mind your money, and recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Trump tells you he's the greatest president. I love this one. He says he's the greatest president for black people in the history of America, including more than Abraham Lincoln. I mean, can you fathom that? Where in the hell? Like I said, I think he injected too much of that bleach in his brain. I think it affected his brain.
I am with you. I will fight for you. And I will win for you. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again.
From New Orleans, Louisiana, the city that care forgot. It's All Over the Road, New Orleans. I figured notes on the King of All Podcasting bestowed upon me by JP Power & Associates with Ted Semper. Hello, Teddy.
Hey, it's good to be here. Good to be here.
Got a big show.
Victor!
Of course, it's an election year. We got a lot of stuff going on. And, of course, whenever there's an election year, we're going to talk politics. We go to the man, the hayride man, Scott Mckay.
Yeah, so much to talk to him about.
It's so much to listen about.
That's listen to him talk. And he will let us know what's on his mind, if you know what I mean.
That's right now.
I'll be honest, Vic.
Yeah, now
I've kind of turned the news down lately. The noise of the news. I haven't been watching it like I used to. It's like, Now, of course, everybody knows about the Trump verdict and stuff like that because, you'll get an alert or, however you have your alert set. But, of course, the big news and stuff like that. But I haven't, it's like...
You know what's funny?
Did you just have the election already?
I know. You know what's funny? I mean, before we bring Scott on, because Scott's going to tell us stuff that we don't know.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that they had all this stuff going on about Trump and this and that. And what I find, and you know me, I don't do a lot of the Instagram stuff. I follow stuff. I just kind of fart around, and I see these articles, okay, that talk about what happened with Trump, and then I read the comments, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you notice this or not. Hey, whether you like Trump or not, and I'm not, when it comes election time, we're gonna throw our support somewhere. We're just not doing it yet, okay. Yeah. We are. We're going to officially do that. So what's weird about it is when you read the comments, no one ever has anything bad to say about the guy. If it's a good article, if it's a pro-Trump article, they talk pro-Trump. When it's a negative article, they still talk pro-Trump. I don't see any comment out there saying anything bad about the guy.
About Trump?
Yeah. When you read the comments.
I don't know where you're reading this, it depends
Instagram.
It depends where you go. Well, whose page and who's posting.
And, so that means, okay.
Well, yeah, I guess, there's a lot of negative out there, but.
I think this whole thing has made him stronger.
Oh, it definitely has. He raised, last I looked, $250 million since the verdict.
Yeah.
Unprecedented.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Wow.
But, I've turned down the news, and you know what I've been watching?
What?
The Sopranos. Now, I know that's not a news show, and have you ever watched it?
No, I think it's a terrible stereotype of us Italian folk.
It could be.
I really do.
but it's a good show, and I know I discovered it, years late. But what?
Half the cast is dead.
Yeah,
I think,
it's true. There'll never be any new one. Tony's
dead, right?
been dead for like 3 years, I think,
Tony's
or something like that. But by watching the show, I'm learning a lot of Italian words.
Oh yeah, like what?
Marrone. What does that mean?
It's kind of like a guy that's...
Like, damn it, or something like...
Yeah.
That's what I thought it meant. I don't know.
Yeah.
Marone.
What other ones?
Like, Gubats?
Gubats, yeah.
Gubats.
Yeah, you Gubats, yeah.
And then, what's the girlfriend? Because they've all got their girlfriend.
What about Stugats?
Stugats. Yeah, the name of his boat.
Yes.
Stugats.
Yeah, Stugats.
I can't believe we haven't watched it.
Well, you know what Stugats is in Italian? That means you got... When you, like, if I were to say to you, hey, Ted... You got Stugats.
Stugats.
That means you ain't got nothing. You ain't got no money. You got Stugats.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's why I named his boat that. Yeah. Yeah. So it's stuff like that. But it's a good story. We're, currently, me and my wife watching, we're like in season 4. There's like 6. It's all on Max.
How do we get here talking about politics?
I don't know. Politics or Stugats. But, I want to say I was at the Christian Music Broadcasters, which is a big event held in Orlando every year. And, of course, with my business, hisair.net. I go down there
give yourself
every year.
A shameless plug. Go ahead.
Shameless. It's a trade publication for those working in Christian music radio.
Right.
And or Christian radio in general. And we go down there every Orlando, and I saw Darren from We Are Messengers. Darren Mulligan. He's been on the show. It's been a while, but he's been on.
Did you tell me you want to get him back on?
I told him, and we talked. He sat down at our table. It was a special thing that his label put on. Curb Word Records. It was a lunch, and by invite, and we were there and sat down at our table. It was a couple minutes with him. Very nice guy. Of course, we already knew that he's a nice guy. And I reminded him. I said, "Remember when you were on our show?" And he's like, "Yeah." He wants to do it again because the last time he's been on twice. Like he was in the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
Remember, and he played a song on his guitar. We talked a little bit, mainly about his music. But the second time he was on was when those riots were happening.
Right.
It was at 20 as well, I believe.
Yeah.
And he was all fired up. And he's like, normally I don't get like that. But he was all fired up on what was going on and very vocal. He's moved back to Ireland.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, he's moved back from he went Nashville back to Ireland, so he's got a tour coming up, I think, but he's doing real well.
I think it was after maybe the second interview that we had with him. I had talked to him on the phone. We had a phone conversation, and I was telling him remember when he said he made a comment that I wish I was the man that people thought I was.
Yeah.
And then come to find out, when he said that to me, he was going through a real dark time.
Yeah, he talked about a little about that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is like out of the Christian artists, I've met a lot of them, but through, how you meet people with things like that, maybe you get to talk to him at length.
Danny Gopi,
maybe
he's a friend.
He's always a nice guy and stuff. Darren is the most down-to-earth, transparent person in Christian music that I've ever met.
Well, you know why he moved back to Ireland, huh?
What's that?
You know why he moved back to Ireland?
Why?
Because he don't like what's going on here.
Well, that's exactly right, and so he's back there with his wife and his family's there and everything like that. So it was good to.
You have to go visit him there one day. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, so awesome. So we should try to maybe get him back on. Of course, so Mandisa passed away. That's kind of I guess old news.
That was a shame.
They just released the
autopsy.
The autopsy. She died from. It's like a form of obesity. It's like obesity. I call it obesity 3 or something like that.
Was she that heavy? I didn't know she was that
heavy.
One
report says she weighed 488
Get out.
pounds. Now, I don't know if that's totally accurate, but it was in print, and I read it.
Mandisa was on American Idol, if you know that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, way back in one of the beginning. She didn't win, but she, did. And I never met her. I never met her. She has been to this thing that I go to, this CMB Momentum deal. But a lot of people that I know have met her and working in radio, had her, you have come by the radio station, did interviews with her. And she was another transparent, very vulnerable, talked about her struggles through the years with weight and depression and all that. So yeah, that was a good, big loss. A lot of people really liked her. And she was very, very, very down to earth. Like I said, really made some good friends in the business as well. But that's what they said was the cause of death.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Overweight, being, and she had really some of her friends who I guess finally found her back in April when they found her body, had not heard from her like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know how close her friends these were, but 3 weeks is a long time. Check on your friends. You know what I mean? If you haven't heard from them.
Well, let me tell you something.
Could be something going on.
Absolutely. And of course, May is Mental Health Awareness Month and all that. And of course, we usually do something to May about it, but somehow it slipped by us. We apologize for that.
Right.
But she's a big loss and everything. And we want to thank also William Wallace for coming on previous shows, talking about his just horrific experience with the carjacking. We're going to have him on a little bit later because he is one of the delegates at the Republican National Convention. So we're going to want to talk to him about that and politics. So we're going to have him on for another show. But Mr. Politics, Scott Mckay from the Hayride, is coming up next when All Over the Road, the podcast, continues. Stick around because this guy's always a hoot. Well, it's an election year, and there's a lot of uncertainty out there. What the heck's going to happen? Do you know? Do I know? Nobody knows. So what do you do when there's uncertainty? You do the best to mind your money. You do your best to be a good steward of the money that God has given you. And how do you do that? You make it into something tangible, something real, something you can put your hands on. You can hold it, you can sniff it, you can feel it. And that's GOLD, gold. And our friends at CoinTrader are experts in all that. Rare coins, precious metals, ancient coins, you name it, they're experts. Give them a call, 504-267-6004. That's 504-267-6004. And tell them the king of all podcasting sent you.
It's part one with our special guest, Scott Mckay. Catch part two next week.
It's how many push-ups you want to do, pal? Oh, come on, man. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. In San Francisco is all about, well, you know, gay bathhouses and everything. It's all about round-the-clock sex. It's all, come on, man.
You know them, you love them, you can't live without them. There he is, Scott Mckay, ladies and gentlemen, from the Hayride.
Yeah, baby.
Dude, it's been a long time, huh?
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. I've been meaning to call you because there's all kinds of stuff going on. And tell me what you've been up to lately.
Yeah, we had you on like back in January. It's been a long time.
Yeah, first of the year we had.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, the new book that's out is King of the Jungle, which is a satirical novel that's actually selling pretty well. I mean, I'm self-publishing this in advance of I've got a business partner, and we're in the process of contemplating starting a publishing house.
Okay.
Because having dealt with a couple of publishers over my last two books, you know, everybody's talking about the publishing industry is collapsing, and having dealt with two different publishers, I'm like, I know why. And so we're looking at doing some things that up that industry in a positive way.
It's called Welcome
King of the Jungle.
King of the Jungle.
King of the Jungle is it's a pretty good guinea pig for a lot of those things. And, you know, we're really encouraged about, you know, the book is already kind of selling a little bit, and that's really neat. But it's super timely. It's like I said, it's a big satire of what's going on in the world. It's set in, well, I'll give you what the basis of this thing is.
All right.
So you've probably paid attention, or maybe you haven't, to the fact that Venezuela, which is in no position to do much of anything, is actually talking about invading their next door neighbor, Guyana.
Really?
And the reason is the western 2/3 of Guyana lies on, you know, on the west side of the Essequibo River. And it's a region called Essequibo. And the Venezuelans have claimed that region for 200 years. There was a treaty signed in 1899 that basically sort of established the current borders of those two countries. And the Venezuelans have, of recent times, you know, complained that, well, the treaty was negotiated fraudulently, and we got screwed and all this kind of stuff. And so back in December, the Maduro regime staged a referendum among their people, at which they got this overwhelming vote in favor of annexing Essequibo. Now, nobody has actually asked the people in Essequibo whether they'd like to be, you know, part of failed state Guyana or Venezuela, or part of Guyana, whose GDP grew by 60% last year because of the oil field that's been discovered and is being developed by Exxon and Chevron just off the coast of Essequibo, which is the reason the Venezuelans went in. So anyway, this has been going on for months, and I kind of thought it was a cool kind of background to write a novel about. And so the novel is about a sort of red pill billionaire, maybe kind of like an Elon Musk type of guy, but more of a composite between, say, him and a guy like a John McAfee and a guy like an Eric Prince or something like that. Uh-huh. And he's running into difficulties with the current presidential administration and some of their things that they're doing. and up and decides, you know what, I'm going to go build a Shangri-La in the jungle in Guyana, and bring all my people with me and all this kind of stuff, and not really thinking there's a very good possibility that the Venezuelans would invade, and yet they do. And this guy says, I'm not leaving. We'll slug it out. And that's sort of the plot of this thing is, what happens next. Okay. But it's a massive send up of, Joe Biden, to an extent, Donald Trump, certainly of the Venezuelans, of the State Department, of the Justice Department, and pretty much everybody else you can think of.
Yeah. What's the name of that country again? Is what?
Guyana.
Guyana. I've never heard of Guyana. Have you, Teddy?
Yeah, it's the place Jim Jones did his deal.
Oh, Guyana. It is. It's Guyana.
He may be saying it correct.
Yeah, maybe you're saying it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
put it this way, the Guyanese call themselves Guyans.
Okay, because
we say Guyana, but I don't think that's correct.
Because Guyana sounds more like an STD, a sexual disease or something.
Well, I mean,
so that book's on Amazon.
You may be more of an authority on that than me. So
you can get your book on Amazon or wherever, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. Although this doesn't actually take place in the Amazon, it's a slightly different jungle. But you can buy the book at Amazon. It's got 4.9 stars, which is about as good as you could possibly get as a rating on there. So
you must work constantly. How do you have time to write a book? I don't know how you have time.
Well, yeah, I write pretty fast. I mean, this thing didn't take that long. Like, I got the idea for the book back in the fall and started writing it, I guess basically December, January, February is when I wrote it, which was kind of a downtime for some of the other stuff that I was working on. And then we actually serialized this thing at the American Spectator, like cut it into 10 pieces and then dropped one every Saturday morning. And the folks that, the readers over there loved it. So, in late April, it came out on Amazon, and it's been kind of percolating ever since.
Well, good. So, congratulations on that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You're our guy. There's nobody better. Now, the last time we talked to you back in January, and I don't know, is it me, other than the Trump trial stuff that's going on? To me, it seems kind of quiet. Am I wrong?
Well, I mean, it depends. And I use that word advisedly. Because, today, Joe Biden went to Normandy for the D-Day 80th anniversary celebration and proceeded to drop the deuce in his trousers. Then picked up.
I heard about that.
And
yes.
Freaking hightailed it out of there, leaving Emmanuel Macron, who's the French president, to shake the hands of all the D-Day vets who showed up.
And this is the second time,
and these guys are they're looking at look at Biden. This is the second evacuation in 5 minutes that this guy is.
Well, how do you know he's crapping his pants? How do you know?
Have you seen the video?
No,
it's pretty obvious.
He's coming out with a different suit.
Oh, he thinks he's trying to sit down, and it's like he's not trying to sit down.
Well, where was the other one? Was it China or something? I don't know. But he went in with one suit, and he came out with a different pair of clothes.
Yeah, there was that, and then there was another one that was right in the Rose Garden, and I mean, it was so patently obvious what happened, and it's right there on video.
Yeah,
and Jill is always standing next to him, and she's gotten almost to the point where she's like it doesn't even shock her anymore.
I guess it doesn't.
Happens all the time.
Well, they say it's one of the side effects of some of the medicines he's taken to keep him alert or something like that.
Yeah, medicines. You mean the freaking methamphetamine that they give the guy?
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be.
You know what? What's so amazing to me is how. And that it comes off this way. It's not really this way, but how incurious the White House press corps and the rest of these people are. Mm-hmm. Biden shows up and he has these freaking jet black pupils that are not nobody's eyes look like that, right? This is so unnatural. Yeah. It's not even funny. And it's a telltale sign that he's on stimulants. I mean, every time he goes on TV, he's got these jet black pupils.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's not his natural eye color by any means. And so he comes out there and he goes and he gives these shouty speeches with his jet black satanic pupils and then proceeds to freaking soil himself. And we're all like, yeah, this is normal.
Oh my God.
This happens all the time. Like,
Scott,
this is a long precedent of presidents that freaking
Scott.
Anyway,
the debate, the first debate is coming up. What, a couple weeks?
Why don't he just wear a diaper? I don't understand. Like,
well, maybe he does, and he just but he's got to stop and contemplate the consequences of his actions.
Hey,
I don't know.
Sometimes when I travel, I think about wearing a diaper because I've been on planes and had to pee real bad, and it's been useful.
That.
Wow.
I mean, look, and I can't. I mean, I don't even want to go there. But one of the most interesting things, and I would give him credit for being on the ball when he said this. Trump is always like, we need to drug test Joe Biden before this debate, right?
Yeah,
because everybody knows he's taking stimulants, and this is not one of these kind of gotcha type things. It's a big deal. If you have somebody who naturally cannot make himself understood and mumbles and can't even cognitively process what he's doing unless he has to have chemical stimulants, chemical additives to his mental acuity, then we should know about that. That's like, I mean, that's material information for voters. And
I don't get
the
it.
media has not sussed this out at all.
Why don't they just get somebody else? I don't get it, because it doesn't matter. They're just going to cheat anyway.
They don't have anybody else.
I think that's their big thing. In the spring, they polled, like various polling organizations had sort of thrown some of the other Democrats as trial balloons. Like there was a couple of polls that threw Gretchen Whitmer against Trump on a test ballot, and some that did Gavin Newsom, and they even did Michelle Obama, who's the one that we all kind of think is going to be the case. And they've done Kamala Harris a number of times, and they all poll worse than Biden. Which I didn't think Michelle Obama would, but she actually is.
Me. Yeah, that surprises me.
And I mean, the thing about, like Michelle Obama's got 100% name ID. So if she's not polling better than Biden against Trump, then that's a problem, because that means she's not as popular as they think. And, when they were doing this back in the spring, it was kind of widely suspected that they were going to get rid of Biden. But they didn't get rid of Biden, and they wouldn't let anybody run against Biden in the primaries, which would have been the smart play, which is just to open it up. I mean, the Republicans had an open, an open primary process with Trump, even though he's not a sitting president, but everybody knew that he was the standard bearer. And yet, DeSantis ran, and Nikki Haley ran, and Chris Christie ran, and all the rest of these guys got in. The Democrats needed that, because then they would have a battle-tested alternative to Biden who they could go to. And at this point, you can't go to anybody else other than Kamala Harris, because how do you pass her over?
Yeah. Well,
there's one demographic group in the country that actually likes Kamala Harris. Okay. And it's black women, who are the most core group in the Democrats coalition at this point. And so I don't know how you throw Kamala Harris out and manage to hold that coalition together.
Right.
They're in, the other group that is single white women that vote overwhelmingly Democrat, and they actually don't hate Kamala Harris either. Everybody else can't stand her, but like those two groups, they've got to have. If they don't have them, they're screwed. And I don't know what their options are, and it's June.
Yeah.
Like, how do you? Right. And there's one more piece to this. You're getting like the bonus plan answer to your question, but there's one more piece to this, which is, and I don't know if you guys have followed this.
Come on.
The Democrats scheduled their convention after the ballot deadline in Ohio. Okay, Ohio. So you have to declare your nominee on August 7th. Or by August 7th to meet Ohio's statutory ballot deadline. Their convention's not scheduled to end until August 22nd. All right. Now, there was a big sort of hue and cry because they demanded that the Republican legislature in Ohio change the law to accommodate Joe Biden. Okay. Remember, East Palestine is in Ohio. Okay. It's not like the people of Ohio are like, oh, yes, we must do things for Joe Biden. Right. Nobody wants to do anything for Biden. And so they were like, well, you got to do something. And basically the legislature in Ohio was like, yeah, and go screw yourself. Yeah. And so they ultimately, what they had to do to get around this is to do a virtual roll call 2 weeks before the Democrats' convention, which makes it way harder to change Biden out, because the way you would be able to change him out if he didn't want to be changed out, okay, and he doesn't, because he would have quit already if he did. And certainly Dr. Jill doesn't want him gone because she's the one engaging in this elder abuse to begin with. But so, like, there's no good mechanism, because the way you would do it would be that you would do it at the convention. And now they can't, because they have to nominate Biden through a virtual roll call 2 weeks earlier because of what they did in Ohio. Yeah. So this whole thing is a complete.
That's crazy.
Can I say shit show?
Yeah.
Because
you say it? Yeah.
Under the context of what happened today, I would call all of this a shit show.
I got a question for you.
So this is what they've done.
And that's good. It's good to hear, because I've never heard that from that, about Ohio and all that.
But
here's a question.
Go to Scott. That's why we go to the man.
We know that Trump's been convicted now and everything. So I'm curious, like, it's all kind of confusion to me about how this could possibly play out. And I don't know if Vic understands it or not or whatever, but maybe you can, Scott, explain it to me. So Trump is going to be sentenced, is it July 13 or something like that?
Before the convention.
So,
before the convention.
And I don't see how they're not going to give him some kind of jail time, at the least home, what do they call it, confined to his house.
Yeah, house arrest
kind of thing. They've taken it this far. How can they not give him some jail time, right? So how does that?
I don't think there's any question that this guy Merchan is going to he's going to try to do that.
So how does that affect if he does get jail time, which we're assuming that he will? How much can he get? How long is this? How does this affect everything?
First, whoa. If there's any jail time, he'll get out. There's no way.
What do you mean he'll get out?
There's just no way. Well, he's just going to appeal it up, and the Supreme Court is stacked in his favor.
Well, yeah, they've already said. I'm sure he's going to appeal it.
Yeah.
Will the appeal happen before the sentencing date?
Well, like not a month ago, a week ago, I guess, last week, Mark Levin put out this scenario basically that said Trump's attorneys need to go for common law writs to the Supreme Court. It's essentially talking about all the reversible error that was committed at that trial, which, Joe DeGeneva called it the most corrupt judicial proceeding in American history. Yeah. And I don't know that he's wrong. But, so the whole point is you appeal this to the Supreme Court because it has a direct correlation to the election.
Exactly.
And that would make the Supreme Court's jurisdiction on point before you would even get to any of these other things. And the case that would be the precedent for that would be Bush v. Gore, right? The 2000 election case where the Supreme Court, they bypassed the federal courts completely. They went from the Florida Supreme Court all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court just, because there was back then, I want to say it was the Equal Protection Clause was at stake, which was, what they were doing was essentially disenfranchising people who had voted for Bush in Florida.
Right.
And the Supreme Court agreed with that. So now you have essentially you have this corrupt judicial proceeding that violates all kinds of, basic rules of criminal procedure and so forth. That directly affects the election, that directly affects, from an equal protection standpoint, people that want to vote for Donald Trump. And so that would give the Supreme Court jurisdiction that they could jump in and void the conviction. And this is Levin's argument. I'm not a legal scholar, and I don't feel comfortable weighing in on it. but I think that there might be an element of that. I'm sure they have an appeal that's going to go as soon as the sentencing is done. I don't know that they want to wait that long. To me, I think you get on top of this right now and get this thing voided. And then the other thing is, does Donald Trump present himself at the sentencing? Because if I'm him, I'm going nowhere near New York.
Well, he was never going to get a fair trial in New York anyway.
Of course not.
And this is the way. I mean, tell me I'm crazy. You got the Democrats going after him in New York, and then you got the first of all, they're all crazy. The Democrats and Republicans are all nuts, and then you got the Republicans going after Biden's kid. But my question is this, and this is my fear.
But is it the Republicans going after Biden's kid?
It's got to be.
Okay, so it's a federal case in Delaware. There's no Republicans in Delaware. and it's DOJ. It's the Justice Department prosecuting the case. There's no Republicans in the Justice Department.
All right, let me ask you this, Scott. Let me ask you this.
Certainly the Republicans in Congress have made a big deal about Hunter Biden. I mean, I'm not going to deny that, but this trial, this is Democrats that are involved in this thing. I don't know that there are any Republicans involved in the Hunter Biden thing.
All right, well,
which makes me believe that Hunter Biden's they're gonna find a way to make him skate on this deal. I doubt very seriously he gets convicted or sentenced to jail time or any of that.
Scott, I want to ask you one question. It's a yes or no answer in your opinion, and I have my opinion. Do you think that we're actually going to get a fair election in November?
Maybe yes.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is because if things continue in the direction that they're going, I don't know that the election's going to be close enough to fix. Like, you have to have a close election if you want to rig it. You can't rig a landslide going the other way.
Hey, the last election was 11 o'clock at night. It looked like a landslide. I went to bed and I woke up to the Truman Dewey thing or whatever that was.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't a landslide in that like Trump was getting 55% of the vote in these places.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like he was up 50,000 votes in Pennsylvania or something like that, that's not something you can't overcome with the dead vote, for example.
See, you know what? You're a sports fan, obviously. We know that from your past, okay? And there's an old saying in baseball: if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, why is it that they're the only ones cheating? Why don't the Republicans cheat back? Why don't we just cheat?
Well, and this is a big thing that's being discussed on the right, particularly after Trump's conviction, which is, how much longer are you guys going to pretend like the Dudley Do-Right approach to politics, generates a return on investment anymore? Because they're putting our people in jail. It's not just Trump; it's Peter Navarro and it's Steve Bannon. I mean, they've done this over and over and over again at this point. And it's not even political figures. There's that guy in Pennsylvania who, is doing, sidewalk counseling in front of an abortion clinic, and somebody attacks his kid. So he shoves the guy and he gets a SWAT raid, down like months later with the FBI coming in because he violated some federal law about, how you can act in front of an abortion clinic.
Yeah.
And the state prosecutor wanted nothing to do with the case. It was like, no, I mean, this is a self-defense thing. There are people in prison right now for singing in front of an abortion clinic. And then you got the January 6th people. I mean, so at some point, Republicans are going to have to realize that this construct that you're used to from the 70s and 80s and 90s where, you had these genial debates over politics. No, we're back to gangs of New York with the elections. And if you don't wake up and recognize that, and whether that means that the exurban voter turnout is going to be 105%, just like it is in the city, or if it means that you're going to engage in lawfare of your own to get all the dead people struck off the voter rolls before the election, or whatever it might be, you're going to have to go and run these ground balls out. And I think changing out Ronna McDaniel at the RNC and bringing Laura Trump and Michael Whatley as the people who are going to run it now. These are guys that at least recognize the problem and are saying they're going to work on it. So you may see some, more vigorous activity on election integrity by the Republican Party. But the other side of this is that if Joe Biden is going to continue to shit himself in public, and slur his words and make massive gaffes and, become such an embarrassment. And the thing of it is like, this isn't some static thing. It's actually getting worse, measurably so, as we go. So what this guy's going to look like in October, I mean, God only knows. And so if it gets that bad, it takes a lot of people working in concert to go and rig an election. Like, you need ward bosses and all these kind of, functionaries. And the thing about these guys is none of them are rich. They don't have the kind of money that, say, Trump does to withstand a prosecution if somebody wants to charge them.
Soros doesn't have money. Buffett doesn't have money. They got money.
Well, they got money, but are they going to dip down and throw $150,000 at some ward boss in Atlanta that
Soros,
they want to go?
Absolutely, he'll do it. Absolutely.
I don't know. I don't know about that. And I also don't know if they're going to be able to guarantee these people in advance that, look, we got your back if Trump wins the election and DOJ comes down here looking to collect skulls. If I'm that ward boss and I know I'm going to lose, I sit that out. Because they don't have those kinds of resources, and they can't, the one thing, even if they win whatever the case is, they're still radioactive, and their whole little political empire that they got in the neighborhood probably goes away because somebody else has got to run it while they're, under indictment. Yeah. So the whole thing, it only works if they're going to win. And if they know that they're not going to win, then, it's better to just sit it out. Like we saw that in Louisiana, in this past fall's deal, which was, they couldn't even get legitimate activity going because their people knew that they weren't going to win.
Right.
And at the end, the Democrats are all standing around. Well, what happened? Get out the vote. And it's like, well, what happened is your people all knew you were going to lose. And so why bother going through the motions? And they couldn't even raise money to get these guys funded.
Well, Scott,
Biden has, but still.
Well, Scott, you're definitely showing your age on this podcast when you mentioned Dudley Do-Right. You're dead. And by the way, I do a Dudley Do-Right impression. You ready?
All right.
Now, Inspector Fenwick. You like that one? You like that? No,
that's not bad.
Anyway, all this talk about shitting your pants has gotten me wanting to go take one myself. We're going to take a quick break back with Scott.
I'm going to ask him about our new Louisiana governor.
Yeah.
See what he thinks about it.
Yeah, because people are saying he's going to run for president. I got to drop a deuce myself.
That's part one of our interview with special guest Scott Mckay. Part two with the political analyst next week on All Over the Road, New Orleans.
Come on, Coin Trader Studios, we're bringing it live. And who am I? I go by the name of Darkest Night. And Jada Hoyos is the one who brings a sick beat, to which we're getting pumped for topics this week. Cause I need to grab my Greg soda and take a sip while I turn it over to Katie, Nick, Ted, and Vic. It's all over. We're all over the road. We got a brand new show, so just lo and behold, from the bayou to the city to the burbs to the swamps, you better know what time it is when you're hearing that.
All Over the Road New Orleans is brought to you by CoinTrader Inc. For real-time prices on gold, silver, palladium, and platinum 24/7, go to goldpricesnow.com. That's goldpricesnow.com.